Whatever.
All right, part two just cut out there. We are back here. We were just in the 8K range, and we are just talking about probably the most important thing this week, which is Hideki Matsuyama 8-4 and Kirschner. I think you were about to make some very great points about Hideki this week, so I'll leave it up to you. But you were saying if this ownership is real, that's very appealing, and I agree more. I mean I agree wholeheartedly. The other thing I was going to add is this week is typically where I get like a upset stomach with Hideki, and this, because he pretty much like he either like plays and misses the cut or finishes top five or withdraws. I don't like paying like 9-5 for him or whatever he is. This week he's 8-4. If he's 4.5%, I can play him in like 10 lineups. I don't feel terrible about myself if he withdraws. And I think he actually fits this course like really well. I mean, he stripes his irons, and I know that there'll be, pretty heavy emphasis on tee to green, I think, with it being a longer course. So I think, like you said, I think if the ownership in the is real, it's definitely a very intriguing play.
Yeah, I think 10% of lineups is fine. And, he withdrew, you know, before the tournament last week. So, like, you would hope he would do that again. And if he starts and plays horrible and withdraws and you only have him 10% of your lineups, like, it's worth it. But I don't think he's someone like you should lock into half your lineups or anything.
Yep. You had also talked about Weiss before. I just wanted to say I like the Weiss pick. I think if you played Weiss last week, he did what Weiss does. He ball struck the hell out of it and he couldn't really putt. So I think he's a good guy to go back to depending on ownership. I don't think 13% is anything to like get terrified of in terms of putting him into lineups. I like Neiman at 86. If you like looked at his stats from last week, they were really good, and he blew up on a few holes that I think skewed the stats even more negatively. Like he started off so hot, and then he caught the bogey train and couldn't get off of it for a little while. He's intriguing to me, and Lowry, God, I know he's like not like playing great, but just like that price and ownership for a guy who, like, to me, is a guy you want to play on like longer courses, I think, a little bit, because he's just so good tee to green. And he's cheap. He's a guy I'm looking at with I can't kind of get my eyes off of either.
Yeah, I have no interest in Lowry. I think that he just hasn't been good in a while, and like I'm not gonna chase it. Like I think that run he went on from like the Honda to the RBC, I think that was it. I don't have any interest in playing any Lowry this week. But yeah, I do like Wise. I definitely like Wise.
Yeah, no, I think Weiss is a great play. So let's move down to what I call the 7 and the 6 is the money making range, right? Like it's pretty, it's if you're nailing the guys up top, you're doing your job. But if you're getting the guys down low, that's when you're really setting yourself up for a big week. So um let's split it into two quick, and we'll run through them. We'll go 7Ks first. Horschel 7-9, Henley 7-8, Harmon 7-7. We got how many different guys in the I always like to check that 15-person range. So, Harmon, Davis, Riley, not Dave, Davis, Riley, Cameron Davis, and then Davis, Riley, Taylor Pendrith, Keith Mitchell, Poston, Vigala, McNeely, Bradley, Power, Mito, Denny, and Siwoo. As my honorable guest, is there anybody in the 7K range? You're
Like I hate to like
guys
not be true to my brand, but like Cam Davis like makes a world of sense.
he
Like
does.
Cam Davis is a good play. Like I don't think there's really any debating that. I do think he will be highly owned. I think, given the fact Andy talked about him on his pod, given the fact that he's won on bent grass, given the fact that he's a great driver of the ball, I think he's been playing decent. Like he's gonna like he makes sense. Again, play him if you have some lower on guys in it. But yeah, I'm gonna play Mitchell like 100%.
Yes.
It's not even really a question for me. I wish his form was a little better, but I just think that if it's going to be an emphasis on driving and putting, that's clearly Keith Mitchell. I'm having DG betting on tonight. We're going down to the tournament together. He bet him. He's high on Mitchell. I trust him. I think it's a good play. So I think it's a nice pivot off Cam Davis. Maybe play both of them. But yeah, I think Cam Davis is a slam dunk play. I just think he'll be really highly owned. And if I'm playing Finau and other people, it might be a little bit too much. But again, I do think it is a great play.
I like Mitchell this week. I really like him as a pivot, like you said. There's also I think that if the Davis Riley number, if I can sell you on one guy this week at 7.5 and 6.5 ownership for a guy who I think is really talented, who I think is a great total driver of the ball, hits his long irons really well, and plays difficult par threes incredibly well. One of the best par three scorers there is on tour statistically this year is Davis Riley. I think he's playing, he had a little, like, he was really hot before this like span here where he went 6,400, 100. He's 1331. He's ball strike, gained on ball striking in both of those tournaments. He's 75 and he's getting squeezed. And yeah, I like him. He's probably my, hashtag leverage play.
I like it. You sold me. I'll play him. Like,
cool.
Not even a question.
So, I will play. What's funny is I was like kind of on the fence about Keith Mitchell, and because I was having you on, I know you're kind of a Kill a Keith guy, which I am too. I didn't want to even like bring him up. I wanted you to say him without me bringing him up. So I was like, yes, because you said him, I'm on him too.
I don't like Thigala.
I don't at 11, dude. I don't at 11. That's what's scaring me. I just like
he plays well. Like, again, totally. He plays well on like shorter TPC courses. Like, he's not someone I want on like a long, difficult golf course. Not difficult, but like a long, like, I don't know, that like Travelers and Waste Management is where it's had his best results. He hasn't had like many other like unbelievable finishes. So I don't know. Yeah, he was 13th last week. I mean, but still, I don't love it. I don't love it.
I loved it. And that's why I bet it at 90-1. And I don't know if I'm going to love it enough at 11%. I like to consider myself a calculated person.
He was 5th at the Memorial. Like, where was that?
That was the one I was going to say. That's a long course. That was the long course he played well at, was the Memorial. Yeah, he just like is a birdie machine, dude. Like, when he just like, he makes birdies from, it doesn't matter where he drives the ball, other than apparently the bunker on 18 at the Travelers was the one place it did apparently matter. And he couldn't get up and down from, but he just like he gains on Travelers, I think, is bent as well, because it's northeast.
Yep, it is, yeah.
So he putted well there. He's just interesting to me. I'm afraid. I honestly like. I really liked him again until I saw the ownership. I'm willing to go back to, and people like maybe like I know have been like saying like, oh, he's a long shot here, like 100-1 and he won. That's not why I'm playing him. I like Keegan at that number. If that ownership number is real, like we were talking about, again, it's Tuesday, so tough to tell. I'm a believer, and is something that's tougher to measure, but like I just showed it at Ridgewood Country Club. I'm pretty sure he finished top 22.
Yeah.
He's from Woodstock, Vermont, right? He played another example, Brookline, Massachusetts, tree line golf course. Again, it's not going to play like the US Open, but he was one of my favorite plays at the US Open. And I think a lot of people were like, oh, like that's a dumb play. It's Keegan Bradley. Like, his upside, like all this stuff. I'm not asking Keegan Bradley to win this golf tournament. I'm asking him to finish in the top 20 on a type of course I think he will excel at. So
he also played well at Wells, which is an East Coast bent course.
Yeah, and I do think that stuff matters, right? Like I think that I think it's stubborn to not think there are like people who grow up in a certain area of the world won't necessarily play those courses better. Obviously, that's not like the end all be all in terms of it is this case with everybody. But I think with Keegan, from what I've seen, and I'm a Keegan fan because he went to St. He's a Johnny too. And he played in New York. I like all of those angles, and I like that he ball struck last week. He hadn't really been doing that well, but he kind of picked up last week, I think, if I was looking at the right stats. So I like him. And then Mito, I'm not gonna play Denny. I was thinking about Denny, and then I like saw 6-2, and I was just like, fuck that. Like I don't need that Denny. If you're a Denny McCarthy person, you should play Denny this week though, because he's cheap as fuck. And it's a
Yeah.
North course. He's a guy from Rockville. I think he's from Maryland, Rockville, Maryland,
Yeah,
maybe.
he's from Maryland.
Yeah, so another North if you're into that. And Denny, 8th place at the US Open Treeline Golf Course.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm out on Denny. Um, did we skip over anybody anybody else you like?
No, but I'll give like two more. I gotta run, but I
Yeah.
really like Wyndham Clark this week. I play
Okay.
him legitimately every single week. Like I always ride him up. And he was like in the top 10 Saturday night, like was playing really well and just kind of fell apart on Sunday. Whatever. It's fine. I'm going right back to Wyndham Clark. Like, not even a question. Elite driver of the ball, really far off the tee, has been playing well, makes a lot of cuts. Again, there's no cut this week, but I trust his ability to make birdies. So I really like Wyndham. I'm hoping his ownership is a little bit low because I'm going to have a lot of exposure to him. And then I think the one chalk, like I don't give a fuck, like I'm eating, I'm playing, like it's a no-brainer, is definitely Trey Mullinax. Like it's just not even a question. I played him last week. I played him at the Open. Like he's just been good. There's no reason to hop off. He's really cheap. Like I don't even think it's a thing where he's not going to play well. I just think that he's such an elite driver and he's feeling himself right now. Like Trey is such an easy play. That's one I'll leave the chalk. So that's why it's a little bit harder for me to play a guy like Cam Davis or Aaron Wise this week. But yeah, I have no problem. I think Trey is the play, definitely.
Yeah, I think another thing to add to the Trey point in terms of chalk this week, like I think it was Fantasy Golf Degenerates I was listening to this week that his birdie or better percentage over the past few weeks is like 33% or something like that. And I only say that because like Trey Mullinax at 62, you could go out and finish, 40th or 37th in this tournament, and he could make a fuck ton of birdies
Yeah.
over 4 days because it's
Yeah.
no cut event. So I like that. I will leave you, Kirschner, with one of my 6K plays that I like,
Okay.
also kind of getting chalk, but I like Munoz. I like Munoz this week. I think he ball struck last week. He's 6,500. I think you could argue he's like up to Norin and Siwoo. Like there's not a whole lot of like. I mean, all of these guys could be priced the same, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So like, I like that he's a little cheaper. 6.79. People are going to be like, oh, like KH Lee almost. I don't fucking care. I don't play these little 2v2 games.
Yeah.
I make sure my overall lineup ownership is low enough so I don't have to worry about that type of stuff. I think he's cheap. He's incredible in no cut events. And he has also, well, yeah, that's like the stupidest fucking stat ever, but he is incredible in no cut events. He finished third at the Olympics, I'm pretty sure, no cut event, or fourth at the
Yep.
Olympics. I like him as a cheap 6.5 play. I think if I'm getting anything out of this, I know to start my lineups this week, Trey Mullinax, Sebastian Munoz, and go from there.
Love it. I love it. I love that we're not hopping off Trey just because he's highly owned. I think it's a great play, and I'll definitely be on him. There's no reason to hop off now, and hopefully people are like, I can't play him. He's too highly owned, and we get a nice ownership on it. But yeah, I think Trey's a great play, and I'll tail you on Munoz this week.
He's dirt cheap too, right? Like
Yeah,
that's like he's chalk, but he's dirt cheap.
yeah,
So and what was I gonna say? This is like why I model this stuff out. Like you model this out over whatever, he doesn't really look that good, but he is like literally
yeah. He's trending.
4th, 15th, 9th over the past 3 and ball striking. So I love the play there. I will let you get out of here. I know you got a show tonight. I really appreciate the time. Sorry we had to 2-piece it. I now know I need a Zoom
Yeah,
premium I need to pay for that additional
or
premium.
just you should use StreamYard, but that's that you should use StreamYard.
All right. Well,
We'll talk about it.
we got to talk about that offline. I'll let you run. Thanks a lot for coming on. I really appreciate the time. And yeah, everybody check out Brian and I, 8 o'clock, tap in Birdie for my like sub 200 listeners out there. So
Yeah, I appreciate it, Kyle. We'll talk this week. and be good. I appreciate everyone who checked it out. It was a great pod.
Thank you. Thank you. Good luck this week, Brian.